Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your Inside Track to Success. I'm your host, Stewart Kraintz, and got a good one for you today. It's been a really awesome start to the show. Have had some amazing guests on in a variety of different disciplines, all focused on supporting you in creating the absolute best version of your life. And while this one is going to be a solo run featuring yours truly, I'm pretty confident we're going to get you some value here today as well. And so if you are watching this on YouTube or listening to it on any platform, please be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, leave a review if you can. Absolutely helps us become more relevant in the searches and allows this information to get out to more people. And again, this is all done in the service of serving people, helping them create the best possible versions of their lives, which is why I feel like I was put here on this earth. And so today, everybody, we're going to just jump right in. Not going to give any fluff. We're just going to get right down to it. And this is one that I think is very important. It may feel a little cliche for a lot of you, but it's still relevant to each and every person out there. And we're going to talk about goals. And specifically, we're going to talk about how to set goals in a way that you'll actually achieve them. Right. And so this is a framework that I use with all of my clients. I know that most of the coaches that I have had myself have used this framework with me, and it's tried and true. And so I want to make sure I go over it with you all today in a lot of detail to make sure that you get all of it squared away for yourself, no matter what you're pursuing. You know, I feel the most lit up when I know that I have supported somebody in getting that promotion or quitting smoking or achieving some type of recognition in their job, which are all things that I feel great about because it's people winning in their lives. And, I just want to salute and acknowledge anybody that I've ever supported. And, if there's anybody just listening to this and you get something out of this conversation today, please leave a comment and let us know what the most impactful part of this episode was for you. So without further ado, we're just going to get right into it. And the first thing that I want you to know is that there is no one framework that is like the end all be all for setting your goals. However, this is one that does work more often than not. And this is one you've probably heard before, but it's called SMART goals. And so we will touch on the SMART goals a bit here in a second, but I want to talk about a slightly different piece of the puzzle that I think gets overlooked in a lot of coaching modalities or in a lot of self help books. And that is the question of your vision. What is your vision? Now, what a vision is, maybe put slightly differently, is it's your why, right? It's the reason that you are going to put in the work, take the consistent, committed actions, especially when you don't want to, towards your goals each and every day. It's the thing that's going to get you out of bed in the morning and get you to go to the gym. It's the thing that's going to make you put aside $50 at the end of the month so you can save towards a house. Whatever that thing is for you, the why is kind of like your North Star. And the reason the why, or the vision, as I like to call it, is important is because without that North Star, without that guiding light, it's going to feel pretty easy to get lost kind of in the wilderness of the day to day of doing those actions to get towards your goals. Because, you know, let's just be honest, like I'm sure if you're like me or anybody else, you've had some huge goals, and maybe for the first 24, 48, 72 hours, you are lit up, excited, can hardly sleep because you just want to get to work and do the thing, whatever the thing is. And you can't after a while because you're tired, you're fatigued, or life starts happening to you. You get hit with a set of circumstances. Your why, your vision, your North Star is the thing that's going to keep you on track and be like, man, I'm just not feeling getting up and working out today. That vision is going to be that snap of the fingers. It's going to be that thing that's going to click for you, that's going to allow you to realize, I want to be my healthiest, fittest self so that I can keep up with my young kids. Or I'm about to get married and I want to make sure that I look my absolute best so that I'm proud of these photos down the road. Whatever your why is. And what I work on for with my clients is making sure that they not only have a why or a vision for each one of their goals and why that's relevant to their life and their overall vision, but also making sure that they have an overall vision and where this is going. And it doesn't have to be some big crazy thing. Like, you don't have to have a huge vision of, I'm going to impact a million lives, or I'm going to solve world hunger, or any of those things. Those are amazing. And I'm not going to knock you if that is what your vision is for your life and your time on this planet. However, it's perfectly okay that if your vision is, I want to be the best possible father, or my vision is to have a beautiful family that contributes to society, which is mine, by the way. Whatever your truth is fine. Really, as long as you're not hurting anybody, your vision for your life is yours and it's okay. And no one's going to judge you. Well, actually they might. They might judge you, but that's for another podcast. We'll talk about that on another episode, but as long as it's true for you and you're not coming up with something, you're not just throwing out a vision because it sounds good, your vision will hold true and be the thing that keeps you engaged when you just don't want to do the work, right? So, the way I support people in finding their vision or getting connected to it, and this is some free game for you guys. So, I definitely hope you're taking notes so that you can do this on your own time. And that is what I call the perfect day exercise. So, in the perfect day exercise, what you're going to do is you are going to take a piece of paper. I prefer to handwrite it. I just personally, for me, I think my ideas flow a bit better. But if you got to type it, if you got to do voice to text, fine, whatever. But the point is, go all in writing about your perfect day. Like, throw your current set of circumstances to the wind. Write about your perfect day in a narrative form. So, like, from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, who are you with? What are you doing? What are you doing for work? Like, get really, really detailed with it. Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, all of it. Because the more detailed you get with it, the more real it's going to feel in your mind and in your body, and you might actually start feeling excited about it as you get it going, right? And so truly, from the earliest part of the day, the moment you wake up, write a narrative piece through the end of the evening. I don't put like length restrictions on it. But what I am going to say is if you're not coming up with at least a page, and I am talking about like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, if you're not coming up with a full page, you're probably not digging deep enough on what your perfect day is. And so the your perfect day exercise is crucial because it gets you to think imaginatively. Hope that's a word. I'm going to roll with it. But it gets you using your imagination, gets you allowing yourself to want things that you might be afraid to allow yourself to want, and allows you to take a couple of minutes or maybe even an hour and live in it as you're writing this out for yourself. Dare yourself to dream, get really connected to it. And then when you're done, read it out loud to yourself. That might sound uncomfortable for a lot of you, but reading it out loud for yourself and allowing yourself to really hear what you wrote does wonders for making this feel real and come alive. Once you're there, once you have the narrative of you, the perfect day in your life, look at what you wrote, listen to what you wrote once you've said it all out loud, read it all out loud, and then look for any common narratives or common themes. Are you surrounded by family? Are you in any type of leadership role? What's the impact you're having on the world? I mean, it's truly endless, like what the answers could be, but as long as it's true to you, you're doing the right thing, right? You're doing the exercise. And once you find those themes, then as briefly as possible, no more than 2 sentences, go ahead and write your vision statement for your life. And it can be, again, like my dream or my vision is to have a beautiful family that contributes to society. 1 sentence, easy peasy. And once you write this for yourself, another one I heard the other day is to create a life of joy and fulfillment for myself and generations behind me in my family. That's one that a client came up with recently. Beautiful, succinct, to the point. And then we work on writing all the goals in a way that they tie back to that vision, right? And so when I'm writing out my goals, they go back to my vision, which is the family. This person writes their goals so that it ties back to their vision, which is the joy and the family. And then we coach against it. That becomes the North Star. Again, the guiding light, the beacon of hope when things are feeling awful and the road is getting rocky and you don't know if you want to continue. Reminding yourself of why you're doing the things you're doing is one of the most critical things to making sure that you keep going. So, perfect day exercise. It's a lot of free game. Definitely make sure that you rewind this if necessary, write it all down. Make sure that you have it all so you can do it for yourself at home. It's a very powerful exercise if you really go for it and allow it to be. So, once you have your vision, now you're ready for the SMART goals. I teased the SMART goals earlier because I know there are other modalities for creating goals. This is the one that just works for me really well over and over and over again. And also for most of the people in my life, and definitely those that I've coached. So it's the framework I'm going to continue to use. And so SMART goals, SMART is an acronym, stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and then time bound. Time bound meaning like you're putting a deadline on it. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound, timely. I've heard it a bunch of different ways, but you're setting a by when, and we'll get to that in a second. So just to go through what a SMART goal looks like. S is for specific. Specific is very important because your brain can latch itself onto specificity. It's really going to struggle with something that's vague. So, for example, a vague goal is I want to lose weight. I want to save money. I want to make friends. Not invalid at all. Not invalidating those. However, it the lack of specificity of those statements doesn't mean a whole lot, because you could lose 1 pound and you have technically lost weight, right? You could make one friend and you have made friends. You can save $1 and you have saved money. Does any of that like create the meaningful change in your life that you're looking for, if that's the case? And the reason that's important is because we are often wired as human beings to relax once we start to see results. We relax. We get lazy. We give ourselves a back door where we don't keep doing the work. And so, specifically, how many friends? Specifically, how much money do you want to save? Specifically, how much weight are we going to lose? Those are the things that are going to give you a target. So you have your vision, and then the target is the arrow you're aiming it at, right? So specificity. Another example of a goal is I am going to run the Cap City Half here in Columbus, Ohio on April 29th. Doesn't get any more specific than that. And as such, I have been able to structure goals around this specific goal to do the work. I have a training plan, I have a hydration plan, I have a stretching plan, I do HIIT workouts. Like, I have structured my life in a way that I can go run and successfully complete this half marathon on April 29th coming up for me personally. You see that? So it doesn't necessarily mean specifically like a number, but in that example, which is a real one, that's an actual half marathon I'm going to go run, you know exactly when, you know exactly which one, you know where. And if I got even more granular with it, you know the start time, you would know who's going to be there, you would know how much money I had to pay to sign up for the race. See how specific this gets, and suddenly like you actually start to create a checkbox or a list of check boxes for yourself to check in order to achieve this goal. That is much stronger of a goal already by itself than I want to run more. I want to get into running. Right? So again, your body, your mind, your enthusiasm, your energy is going to latch on to specificity in a way that vagueness won't. So whatever your goals are, make sure they are specific. The second one is measurability. Measurability is assigning either a numeric value or some type of system that allows you to monitor and track your progress. Now, we're only on the second letter of SMART, but measurability, in my opinion and in my experience, is probably the most important part of setting a goal that you will actually accomplish. Again, the measurability ups the specificity by a lot. You know exactly what you need to do by certain time period. Like if your goal is to lose 50 pounds by the end of the year, you know that in June you want to be around 25 pounds lost, whatever the goal is, right? And again, it gives you something to track yourself against. It also, because I am in the business of making sure people build their self confidence, it also allows you to give yourself something to acknowledge yourself for. So I lost 2 pounds this week. That puts me 3 pounds ahead of schedule on my goal of losing 50 pounds by the end of the year. I am celebrating that. And then that win, celebrating that win gets you more excited to continue to do the work, to eat the food you don't like eating, to get up, to exercise, to do whatever that thing is that you don't want to do. Because Lord knows you're not going to want to do the work at some point. And so the measurability, while it feels daunting at first when you're adopting the SMART goals model, like, oh man, Stu's really going to crack the whip, or he's really going to make this not fun because he's making me like give him numbers that I'm supposed to hit. I promise you, making your goals measurable actually makes them more exciting. And so going to my personal example of running this half marathon, I have training programs that I am following as close to the T as humanly possible. I know that on a certain date, I need to run X number of miles. And then it just becomes a simple, did I do it? Yes or no? Just this morning, true story, I was scheduled to run 9 miles. I made it 8.18 because I drastically underestimated how humid it was outside. I'm still celebrating the fact that I ran 8.18 miles in crazy humidity here in Ohio because everything in my body wanted me to stop around mile 3. But I kept going for another 5.18. I didn't even hit today's goal of 9 miles, but I still have that credibility with myself because I showed up and did the work because this goal is measurable. And I know that I need to show up and do the work if I'm going to run 13.1 miles in 2 weeks. Does that make sense? I know you can't respond to me on a podcast, but I'm hoping it does. The measurability piece, like I just said, is how you create that credibility with yourself. It's how you build that self-confidence, especially when you take the time to acknowledge yourself. So moving on to A for achievable. People kind of balk at this one a little bit in my experience, but achievability to me is as follows. Is this a goal that you can actually create in the time frame specified? Or is it a goal that's actually within the realm of possibility? Most goals are, for the record. We are often mostly limited just by our imagination. But to give you a personal example, once upon a time, I wanted to be an NBA basketball player. Would have been a very, very tall order given my height and build and general lack of athleticism. Let's call it what it is. That is a more attainable goal than if I said, I'm going to be better than LeBron James, or I'm going to be better than Michael Jordan. They are going to rename, or they are going to redo the NBA logo. They're going to take NBA legend Jerry West out of the silhouette on the NBA logo, and they're going to put a silhouette of me. Much more unlikely. And also, goals of that nature, while specific, that's very specific, those types of goals are very, very hard to stay engaged on because there's not a real clear route of how to get there. Like clearly I would have needed to been excellent basketball player, and we can talk about training programs and like shooting drills and all these things I could have done, but at the end of the day I'm limited by the frame and the body that God gave me. And while I'm 6'2", LeBron James is like 6'9" and weighs 265 pounds. Like he's a Mack truck. He has a lot of advantages that most of us mere mortals don't have. And that's okay. Something that would have been more achievable is if I had set a goal to be a college basketball player and then created the structures and the framework to get there. Now, a caveat to this, guys, I don't want to limit you in your thinking of what you want or what you want to go after. If you want to have the number one podcast in the world, if you want to have, your face on magazines, if you want to be in the next summer blockbuster movie, go for it. I am not saying no. You absolutely can. Like anything's possible. And also, it's going to take a lot more work and a lot more effort and a heck of a lot more going outside of your comfort zone to get there. And getting there is not going to be linear. Your goals will get to lead to other goals, which will get to lead to other goals, which will get to lead to other goals. And then there are also factors outside of your control, like, if you want to be in that movie, you get to make sure you get discovered. And sometimes those things just are outside of your control. Not saying you can't make it happen. Just like theoretically, there's a greater than zero chance I could be better than LeBron James, but it's very unlikely. And you don't want to set yourself up in a way to fail. Failure is going to be part of any goal, but you don't want to set yourself up in a way to fail that's then going to erode your credibility with yourself, because that then prevents you from going for the next thing or the next thing or the next thing. Okay. So we've done specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable. They're interchangeable words, but they're the same thing. Realistic is R. Now, again, similar but different. Realistic is, can you get it done? Like, is it something that actually can get done, and can it get done in the specified time frame that you're looking for? So if you're in a 6-month coaching program, becoming America's Next Top Model probably isn't the right goal to set. We can set goals to get you there if that's part of your vision, but taking it back, there are like actual like physical and spatial and other types of like limitations that we just have as human beings living on this earth. And again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one because I don't want to limit your thinking, because that goes absolutely against what I stand for. And going back to that credibility piece, you want to set yourself up to play a game that you can win. Okay. So if your goal is to land a dream job and you have a very specific job in mind, landing it within a specific time frame might not be realistic, but going to the networking events or getting something published in a major publication that will build your credibility in your industry space, or hitting the sales goals at your current employer within a specific time frame. Those are realistic goals that can get you to the bigger goal. Okay? So that's the difference I just want to make sure you guys land on. So I'm never going to tell you to not shoot for the moon, but make sure you're creating winnable games for yourself so that you have those successes, so that you build your confidence in yourself, so that you take bigger risks, so that you get where you want to go. And that's how this goes. And finally, y'all, the last one is T for time bound or timely. Basically, you got to give yourself a buy when. Like a no BS. I am going to have this accomplished by this date, and I'm going to move heaven and earth to get myself there no matter what. The reason this is important is because if you don't, and I promise I'm guilty of it, and if you really think about it, you're guilty of it too. How many times have you decided you wanted to do something and then put it off till tomorrow? And then put it off till tomorrow. And then put it off to the day after that. And after that, and after that, and after that, and after that. And you get what I'm saying. Consistent, committed action is the only way you can get from A to B. And the discipline of showing up and doing the work, especially on the days you don't want to, is the distance between where you are and where you want to go. And with that said, dropping a timeline in for yourself is really going to up the rigor and the discipline for yourself and how you hold yourself high on those goals. So again, like the weight loss example is easy, so I'm just going to go back to it. If you're going to lose 50 pounds in a calendar year, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, you can then work backwards to create the action plans necessary to get where you want to go. And if you set little milestones for yourself, by the end of June, I want to have half of the weight released, half of it lost. You can then work backwards again and get even more specific because you're working on a smaller time frame to get you where you want to go. The smaller the time frame, the bigger the action and the greater the plan in that will need to be in place, and the level of commitment from you to get you where you want to go in that amount of time. And I'm just going to call it what it is, guys. Like, it's actually a lot more exciting to live your life that way. You know, a good friend of mine, actually, he was on this show, John Yarberry, a couple episodes ago, actually on a phone call said to me, "What's preventing you from starting this show right now?" And I didn't have a good answer for him other than my own perfectionism, y'all. I had a May 1st start date based on that phone conversation. I launched this show on March 1st, 2023. I did not feel ready. That phone conversation went down on like February 24th. But because that shortened the timeline from 2 months to 4 days, it got yours truly into action, lit a fire under my butt. And now I have a show that is growing a following and I'm getting a lot of great feedback. More importantly than anything, is providing value to the world. And that was my goal with this the entire time, anyway. So, timelines get you into action. They hold you high, they create accountability. They also get you those wins faster. I'm loving this podcast process. And once I let go of my fear and committed to a shorter timeline, y'all, it's been magical. Had my wife on recently, and that was one of the most amazing hours of my life, just listening to her expound upon everything she knows in her work as a women's empowerment coach. And I created this platform for her to do it because I shortened my timeline and John held me high. Specific, measurable, attainable, or achievable. I don't care. Both of those mean the same thing. Realistic and timely or time bound. When you have all 5 of those components, it's going to dramatically increase the probability that you're going to accomplish your goals. Okay. I'm specifically not saying guarantee because, as we know, life can happen. Circumstances can happen, completely take us out, come out of left field. You don't know. When that does, not if, when that does, I'm going to encourage you to look at it this way. You have your perfectly laid out plan, you have your vision, you have your SMART goals that are going to back up your vision. You've got all of the steps in place that you're going to execute on to go make these goals a reality. And then some unforeseen set of circumstances occur. I encourage you, when this happens, because it's guaranteed that this will happen at some point, ask yourself, how is this happening for me? And then get back in the game as fast as you can. You may need to take a day off, a week off, a month off, depending on what the thing is and what your goal is. But it's not about whether or not you get knocked down on the mat. It's how quickly you get back up. And if it's a type of thing in which the actual circumstances of your life have just changed, I encourage you to not only ask yourself how this is happening for you, but also to look at it through the lens of life is a game. We can play it however we want. My specific set of rules through which I am personally blessed to play this game have changed. Accept it for what it is and get back in the game if the goal is still relevant to you. Because going back to the time bound piece, time is going to move forward whether we're taking action on our goals or not. Do you want to make it to the end of the year the same weight that you are, or do you want to lose the weight? Are you going to do everything you possibly can to make that happen? April 29th is going to be here. This half marathon is going to happen regardless of if I've trained for it and if I'm ready for it or not. And I've chosen to be ready for it, which included running 8.18 miles today. Even if I didn't make it the full 9 I was supposed to run, I still put in work today. Taking that type of ownership and responsibility over your goals and really just owning them as yours is the extra piece. Having a clear vision, having your goals aligned to your vision, using SMART goals, and also committing to yourself like no BS, you are going to stay in the game, will dramatically shorten your timelines to accomplishing your goals, really allow you to have the success that you crave. And while success is never 100% guaranteed, it's absolutely going to increase the likelihood that you get where you want to go. Best part is, I know you can do it. I believe in you. If you're listening to this and you've made it this far through the episode, it's not by accident. You were meant to hear this. I firmly believe that. You owe it to yourself and the world. You actually owe it to the world to create what it is you feel like you're meant to create on this earth. Somebody is supposed to benefit from what you have to give. Your innate talents, your gifts, even if it's just being a great friend to somebody. You have no idea the ripple effect that can create. And so I strongly encourage you to do the visioning exercise, write out your perfect day, read it out loud, look for the common themes, write out your vision statement, and then write out all of your goals using the SMART format: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound, so that you can up your impact, up your level of success. And so not only you, but the whole world can benefit. This has been a good one, y'all. I came in with no plan and I just went for it. And so if you received any type of value from this episode today, please, please, please like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to or watching this on, and share with a friend. I'm sure you know somebody that could benefit from this information. And also, please leave us a review. The more people listen to this and rate it highly, the more easily it'll be found in search for other people. And also, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at Stewart Kraintz on every single platform, but I primarily hang out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So at Stewart Kraintz. And, y'all, this has been another episode of Your Inside Track to Success. Thank you for being here today. Go get after it.